Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs. For years, mainstream doctors have ridiculed alternative medicine, condemning everything from acupuncture to aromatherapy. But that hasn't stopped more and more Americans from turning to unconventional treatments, spending an estimated $13 billion a year. Most doctors remain skeptical. But now, for the first time, major research centers are taking a serious look, trying to discover what works and what doesn't. We begin tonight in a state-of-the-art operating room in one of this country's most respected teaching hospitals. Open heart surgery is being performed. But the voice you hear is not the doctor's, it's the hypnotist's.
Allow yourself to be in the moment and just to feel at peace and know that your body will protect you.
Do the pump suckers in all, please. Eventually I'll be lifted up. I'll put the stitch in the back.
Run it as fast as you can. You make it easier for your body by teaching it to flow along during surgery. Flow along with the surgeon.
Going on bypass.
You are healed. You are healed. My words will go with you.
Joe Luciano's heart is in the hands of high-tech surgeon Mehmet Oz, but his mind is out of technology's reach, listening to a hypnotist's voice through his headphones.
Have minimal bleeding.
And this nurse is not there to hand over sponges and sutures. She's Joe's therapeutic touch nurse, tending his aura. Her job, she says, is to smooth out invisible energy fields during the operation. It's a shotgun wedding between the medical and the mystical, the brave new world of alternative medicine. And it's the last place this patient, Joe Luciano, ever thought he'd be.
I said, they're not going to hypnotize me because what are they going to get me to do? When it was first mentioned to me about the alternative medicine, you think of all kinds of things. Where's this coming from, outer space?
Joe Luciano was never someone to step off medicine's beaten path. A 46-year-old football coach and heavy smoker, Joe spent last fall taking his high school team to the New York State Bowl game. His Eastchester Eagles lost in quadruple overtime. Days later, the coach had a massive heart attack.
I was scared. The doctors got together and decided that because I do have some other blockage in the arteries that a triple bypass was necessary, which is going to be performed tomorrow. Knowing that you're going to get your chest opened up and moving arteries from your leg into your heart, etc., is very scary.
An ambulance took Joe to one of New York's acclaimed teaching hospitals, Columbia Presbyterian, where he met a young, prestigious heart surgeon nicknamed the Wizard of Oz. The Columbia Complementary Care Center is Dr. Mehmet Oz's brainchild.
The average person who comes to see us already come with the mindset that hard science is the only answer. And although I have that bias also, as a trained doctor, I also recognize that we don't have all the answers. And maybe we could make things even a little bit better by taking advantage of the patient's own raw material, their mind.
Yeah, I wouldn't put them on antibiotics.
Dr. Oz has had 160 research papers published in major medical journals. His Harvard education got him into medical school, but it was his wife's family who got him into alternative medicine. She grew up dosed with herbal tea for stomach trouble, garlic for earaches. Oz was intrigued. Now he's heading one of medicine's first officially sanctioned testing grounds for alternative therapies. For almost 2 years, his patients have gotten standard treatment and unstandard extras in an effort to find out what alternatives, if any, can work on patients like Joe. He and his wife, Barbara, were not exactly believers.
We're not the type of people to say that right away, oh, yeah, this is great, let's do this. If Joe saw this on TV, he would tell me to turn the channel, and that it's crazy.
I don't know.
When Dr. Oz first offered Joe 6 different forms of alternative therapy, Joe turned him down. This is the first time Joe's ever been in a hospital, and he's suffering from a complication that standard medicine just doesn't address: fear.
The fact that you almost died, the fact that you still might die, coming to grips with your own mortality, these are major stressing agents.
You can be of help with that after the fact.
I think I have an obligation to be of help to them.
With surgery a day away, Joe and Barbara find themselves reaching for help.
I think we were so scared that, you know, we would have done anything. And we figured it couldn't hurt.
24 hours before he goes under the scalpel, Joe begins taking every treatment they offer, beginning with reflexology.
Breathe and let go.
Reflexologists claim that it's a treatment used in ancient Egypt. Specific points on the feet are connected by energy pathways to internal organs.
Tension just leaves the body.
They massage the points they say are connected to his heart. And then, for the first time in his life, the skeptical football coach finds himself doing yoga.
Notice the play of the torso and breath. You will never breathe the same now, Joe.
I'm the type of person that I'm not going to just walk down the street and go buy something. Okay, you have to show me. You have to prove something to me.
Bring your right hand up on your right shoulder.
I guess I use that in coaching, too, with the kids. You can't tell me you're fast. I want to see how you run.
The strangest alternative for Joe is therapeutic touch. The nurse tells him that healing energy is supposed to flow from the practitioner's hands, smoothing out a so-called energy field surrounding the patient. The director of Dr. Oz's complementary care team is Jerry Whitworth. He runs a heart-lung machine in surgery.
If we talk about energy in an institution like this, there are many people who look at us that we're doing voodoo. The premise behind therapeutic touch is that instead of a machine picking up and being sensitive to this energy, it happens to be a person.
Most doctors still think therapeutic touch is nonsense. As a physician, do you think that therapeutic touch works?
I'm undecided. I was more skeptical of therapeutic touch before I started to use it. And the more I use it on my patients, the more of a believer I become. I still have not been able to scientifically prove that it works. But I am giving it a good shot.
Releasing the tensions of the day.
At the end of the day, Joe volunteers for hypnosis.
Release your breath. Relax your
Jerry
eyes.
Whitworth is the hypnotist and makes a tape of the session.
Bed deeper and deeper.
You could see the frown in someone's face when they're tense.
Relaxing.
And being with Joe for married 25 years, with him for 30, you can tell that it really, something was not right. Before the hypnosis, he was still scared, so was I. After the hypnosis, I saw a big difference. He was calm, his face was relaxed, it was incredible.
12 hours left till surgery. Joe Luciano will take his experience here at Columbia Presbyterian's cardiac ward, good or bad, as proof of the power of alternative medicine. But doctors here are quick to caution that that's just one person's story. And over the generations, alternative medicine has had to rely on stories like these, testimonials from people who believe they've been cured this way. And the doctors say testimonials, although emotionally appealing, are as far from scientific proof as you can get. Still, that doesn't stop people from believing. People believe in apitherapy. Thousands of patients with arthritis and multiple sclerosis now sting themselves with bees up to 20 times a day. They claim it reduces their pain and helps with mobility. People believe in iridology, diagnosing the body's ills by looking at the patterns of your iris, the colored part of the eye. There's a complicated chart that shows where organs and limbs can be found. This pregnant woman believes in acumoxa, a form of ancient Chinese acupuncture that burns tiny amounts of mugwort leaves over acupuncture points. Her baby is breech, ready to come out feet first. Acumoxa, she believes, will turn the baby before it's born. Her baby did turn, but doctors say one woman's experience isn't proof, and no medical studies have proven that any of these systems work. If you're not a believer, they all look a little loony, particularly if you go to one of the popular alternative medicine expos. Didn't you just put this on your head and it does something? One survey estimated that Americans spend $13 billion a year on alternative remedies.
It's an energy device on a string.
And by using different points in the head, we knock out.
70% never tell their own physicians what they're doing. Except, of course, at Columbia Presbyterian, where doctors themselves are prescribing alternative treatments. It's the day of Joe Luciano's surgery. The football coach practices his yoga breathing and plays his trance-inducing hypnosis tape over and over, Joe will listen to the tape continually for the next 8 hours.
When he went down to surgery, before he went into the operating room, he asked me to turn the tape up. My trust was in the tape, like, don't take him off his head, don't take him off his head. Leave him on, leave him on, leave him on.
When we come back, what happens to the coach? And a story that has caused me to feel concern for someone I know and her readiness to turn to unproved alternative therapies. What bothers many doctors about alternative medicine is that often a patient gives up on mainstream treatment to embrace something entirely unproved. While reporting this story, I was shocked to learn that a colleague of mine appears to have done just that. Gabriela Messina is a 32-year-old TV producer who had worked with me on 20/20 for 8 years, a vibrant young woman who was at the gym every morning. Recently, a second career was taking off for her. She had just finished her first film.
I didn't want the 70s to end. I don't want the night to...
But in a heartbeat, Gabriela Messina's life turned upside down. Coughing up blood, she found herself in the emergency room. X-rays, CAT scans, and the terrifying diagnosis: cancer, a rare form in her lung. And the day after Christmas, surgery.
I was scared. I was terrified. Because you really don't know. You know, and you have the best faith you can have that they're going to do a great job. My dad held my hand until the very last moment, until, the doors closed.
In the operating room, they found the tumor aggressive, invasive, attacking the nerve and lymph nodes. It was adenoid cystic carcinoma, and it was all over the lung.
I woke up in recovery, really, really uncomfortable. And I remember seeing very fuzzy faces of my family. And the first words out of my mouth were, what did they take?
They had taken her lung. Her doctors at Memorial Sloan Kettering, one of the country's premier cancer hospitals, scheduled an immediate radiation consultation. But Gabriela canceled the appointment.
It was like, wait, slow down. Everybody just slow down. As sick as I was, I started to use my journalistic skills. And I basically started producing my life. I called friends, back at ABC, and I said, hey, could you help me with some research? I need some medical information. And like slowly but surely, my living room table started filling up and piling up with books, research, articles. And I knew the alternative approach was going to be what I would choose. It was just, which one was I going to do?
Gabriela never went in for her radiation treatment. She has stepped away from mainstream medicine, rejecting her oncologist's advice point blank. In a decision that shocked family and friends, she decided to fight her cancer with a complicated system of alternative healers and a nutritional cancer cure.
It seems overwhelming, but I have to take ones with breakfast, ones with lunch, ones with dinner, ones in between meals, and ones at bedtime. So I devised a plan for myself to color code the packets. So green is breakfast, blue is dinner, red are the pancreatic enzymes, and yellow is lunch.
Gabriela Messina now takes 134 pills a day. She eats an organic diet and performs 2 coffee enemas daily. Every few weeks, she drinks glasses of Epsom salts, olive oil, whipping cream. She is following doctor's orders. But now the doctor is a controversial New York physician, Nicholas Gonzalez, M.D.
Usually I do the bloods every 3 months. So maybe in a month, let's get some blood work done.
Dr. Gonzalez went to Ivy League schools, Brown University, Cornell Medical School. But he learned to use pancreatic enzymes against cancer from a dentist in Texas. Gonzalez claims almost miraculous results, sometimes with patients who've been given only months to live. It seems too good to be true.
You've been out this now how long with this technique that you have?
Well, I've been in practice in New York since late 1987, so it's about 8.5 years.
Why wouldn't there be beating a path to your door if you have the kind of success that even orthodox treatment can't boast heavy success in cancer cases?
My staff seems to think people are beating a path to our door. I mean, there are days we get 100 to 150 calls from patients all over the world.
Yet he is the only doctor in the world using this method. Dr. Gonzalez can offer no scientific proof that his system works, just testimonials from patients who believe he has cured them.
It's just most doctors in standard medicine are trained, as I was trained, that chemoradiation and surgery are the main and only therapies that are effective against cancer. The idea that you could come up with a nutritional therapy with pancreatic enzymes and, to make it worse, coffee enemas, can be used to effectively treat advanced cancer. It sounds so bizarre that's beyond the realm of comprehension. I think the oncologists are right to be skeptical. I think they're right to demand clinical trials. Their skepticism is the proper scientific attitude.
Gabriella's team here at Sloan Kettering is particularly skeptical. They're still strongly recommending radiation. They say her rare adenoid cystic carcinoma is a type that is sensitive to radiation. And the few studies they do have show there's a 60 to 70% chance that radiation could stop any recurrence of cancer in her remaining lung. Without it, they say there's every possibility that Gabriella's disease could come back. But she sees it differently.
The radiation troubled me because of its possible negative effects. The short-term effects I could have lived with. Cough, rash, all of that stuff, they would go away after the radiation. Long-term effects, scar tissue, salivary function problems, how it would affect my voice. You know, I'm a singer. Did I want to take that chance?
You know there are people watching right now that would say that you're probably crazy to have taken the choice that you did.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
I would say that I'm probably the sanest I've ever been in my life.
2 months after she rejects radiation, Gabriella starts to put her life together again. Cautiously beginning to sing.
It's so unstable. Now sing.
This is the first time she's seen her voice teacher since her lung was removed.
That's the hard part right there. Yeah. It's really shaky. Just let it be real weak. Yeah, that's all. Don't try to get anything more out of it than that. One more. Let it sit here, because that's more like my old Gabriella. I didn't think we'd get that far today, to tell you the truth. There, really still there. Good, sweetie. Really great. See? It's not gone. It's a little bit tight.
Some people would look at what I was doing, you know, at my choice not to do chemoradiation and say, well, you're just scared. You just didn't want to, you know, you're just taking the easy way out. And I look at them and I say, easy? Live a day in my life and do what I need to do with the treatment that I've chosen, and you tell me if it's easy. Between buying the produce to preparing it. By the time I finished preparing and finishing my juices, it was time to make the coffee for the coffee enema. By the time I finished that, I was ready to make lunch. By the time I finished lunch, I had to take the other set of pills. It doesn't stop.
And that's only the beginning. Gabriella is waging war on her cancer on her own terms. Physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. Dr. Gonzalez, she hopes, will take care of the physical. She is in charge of the rest. Like Joe Luciano, she tries yoga. She believes deeply in the energy fields that therapeutic touch is based on, and sees an energy healer and therapist once a week.
What I feel is sensations of heat when I'm being worked on.
Focusing on blue, light.
Tingling. There's like a radiating that's happening.
What does that do to the fact that that is...
Gabriella believes those invisible energy fields circulate in the home, so she has her apartment visited by a practitioner of the Chinese art of feng shui. This woman says healing energy can flow through every room if furniture is placed correctly.
You're still really very much in the entranceway here, in the exact line.
If the energy is blocked by bookshelves or a badly placed bed, she believes your body becomes unbalanced.
And I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to put too much stuff because I don't want to block you in. But
Gabriella says she's chosen her alternative path because there are so few medical studies about her cancer. The numbers aren't there to prove that radiation will help her.
You vetoed the radiation idea on grounds that the numbers weren't right for you. And yet you're in a regimen now that really has no numbers proven.
Right. There aren't overwhelming numbers. You know, Dr. Gonzalez doesn't, oh yeah, I've cured, you know, X amount of people. He's just started clinical trials right now with the National Cancer Institute. So maybe, you know, we will have some actual studies, you know, since modern science seems to rely so much on the studies.
Though Gonzalez told us the National Cancer Institute suggested he begin his studies, that agency was careful to say that Gonzalez's research is neither sponsored nor funded by the NCI, and that their initial review of his method showed no significant evidence for clinical activity. In spite of that, Dr. Gonzalez has interested Nestle and Procter & Gamble in sponsoring research into his treatments. But until those studies show objective data, mainstream medicine is ignoring him.
Science is always very difficult. It's 95% sweat, and it takes time to collect data. This therapy is going to live or die based on the data, and that's the way science has to work. My goal is to get the material, to get the method tested properly and present the data. The data will speak for itself.
Data, proof. That's what the medical world is waiting for. Back across town in Dr. Oz's operating room, mainstream medicine is beginning to gather data, the sort that might show if some of the methods Gabriella is using are hope or hype.
Now we're going to separate the heart from the body.
At Columbia Presbyterian, Joe Luciano is in the middle of his triple heart bypass. The coach's heart is stopped completely for 50 minutes, while the heart-lung machine keeps him alive. His therapeutic touch nurse works on the energy field at his head. Oz's staff takes extra measurements to see if the alternative therapies have any effect. His hypnosis tape plays.
Imagine your body working to minimize bleeding.
The operation's tensest moment, Joe's heart is started again.
The rhythm was extremely regular, which is what we worry about early on. He behaved in a very calm fashion. That doesn't mean necessarily that what we did worked, I have to admit. On the other hand, it certainly is additional subjective evidence that he had some benefit from some of these therapies. Think about healing.
Joe begins listening to a new tape on his way to intensive care.
Imagine yourself coming out of anesthesia, knowing that the surgery is over.
Would never ever think
Imagine
of
putting yourself into
anything like this could really help you. I mean, come on, you know, just, you know, get the anesthesia, get the doctor, and operate. This stuff is silly. And that's what people say, but it's not.
Allow the tube to be there. We're going to give you some medication. It's Jerry.
Joe's stay in ICU was remarkably short, less than 24 hours.
Let me make it maybe just a little clearer. A lot of the stuff that they talked about wasn't much different than what anybody would really do. You know, you're in a jam, you take a deep breath, and you think. It wasn't any miracle. There wasn't no pyramid hung over my head. There was no crystals thrown up in the air. It wasn't like that. It's common sense, I think.
Oz has convinced his colleagues to cooperate with a total of 10 controlled scientific studies on everything from aromatherapy to therapeutic touch and hypnosis.
During the surgery, there will be minimal bleeding.
The hospital is leading a multi-million-dollar, multi-year effort to see if alternative medicine works or not.
If we don't do it, who's going to do it? Some poor fellow who really believes in it, who's in a small center, who no one's going to believe. Even if he publishes the most outstanding results, no one's going to believe him. Only if it's done in an established academic institution in the right way can I prove or disprove whether these modalities work.
It's checkout time.
Checkout time.
Bye.
Bye. Good luck. Bye. Thank you.
5 days after surgery, Joe is on his way home, and he takes with him no prescriptions for pain medication.
Yeah. Welcome home.
He says he doesn't need any. His only prescription from Dr. Oz's complimentary care team: do yoga and listen to the hypnosis tapes every day. As Joe says, if this is alternative medicine, why not try it?
That's been, from my perspective, the foundation of the whole program, which is that at worst, I've only wasted time. At worst. I can't do harm, I don't think, with most of these interventions.
Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om, Om Mani Padme Om.
But critics say alternative medicine is not benign. That research, even into seemingly harmless complementary care, only encourages sick people to abandon standard medicine entirely and to spend their money and their time on what might be just a new way to sell the same old snake oil. When we return, a man in an offshore clinic who says he can cure cancer, any cancer, using a form of oxygen.
Okay, and this is exactly what we're going to do with Carol's cancer.
Surveys show that many people who turn to alternative medicine are well educated and upwardly mobile. They believe that they're smart enough to figure out and manage their own care. But there is another reason some people turn to alternative medicine, and that's fear. Fear of surgery, radiation, and other traditional treatments. They are willing to try almost anything, anywhere. This is the world that doctors fear, beyond medicine and beyond U.S. borders. It's an offshore spa in the Dominican Republic. Carol Johnson, a physical therapist from Pennsylvania, has breast cancer. This man, Lucas Beauvais, says he can cure it and anything else wrong with you.
AIDS, cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. But I don't care what it is, because all diseases are caused by the same thing, and that's a breakdown of your immune system.
Immune system cures are popular in alternative medicine. Beauvais' version involves ozone. It's an unstable and extremely corrosive form of oxygen. There's no medical proof, but Beauvais tells his patients that ozone, combined with the right diet and 4 weeks at his beach resort, is corrosive enough to kill cancer cells.
If it doesn't work, but it's going to work. That's what I believe. So there's no looking back. Oh, if this doesn't work, then let's go back to chemo or radiation. It's just not there. For me, it's not there.
Carol turned down a mastectomy, chemo, and radiation for this, even though in her case mainstream treatment offers close to a 90% chance of survival. She saw her sister die of cancer and came here after hearing the testimonial of another woman with breast cancer, Kathy Smith.
Just talking with her, I wasn't as fearful of it as I was the chemo or the radiation.
Carol takes an hour of treatments daily, beginning with an injection into a vein of pure ozone. Through hoses, Carol takes rectal and vaginal ozone gas enemas. They puff the gas with sterile water into her eyes. Beauvais told us it could cure blindness. In a sauna bath that he modified himself, Carol gets a 30-minute rinse with water and ozone. Ozone is piped into her ears. Finally, an ozone wand is used on her face and scalp.
We generate the ozone right on the spot. We actually bring alive again the follicle, and people grow hair back.
Alternatives, by definition, are unproven. If they were proven and proven to be effective, we'd all know about them, we'd all be using them, they'd be in every hospital in the world.
For 15 years, Dr. Barry Kaseleff has studied alternative medicine patients. She says Carol is typical of those who turn to unproven cures.
People who use alternative therapies are significantly better educated than those who do not. They're attracted to a lot of the, what we can only call New Age approaches.
She says cancer patients who go this route try, on average, 4 different alternatives.
And by the time they get into a hospital to receive the surgical treatment that they should have gotten originally, they're beyond hope of cure and sometimes beyond hope of remission.
Scores of clinics in the Caribbean and Mexico offer cancer cures like Beauvais, shark cartilage, Laetrile, 714X, all outside the regulation of the FDA.
It's the greedy chemical companies that don't want to see ozone, as it is the greedy FDA and AMA that don't want to see a replacement for the drugs that they all make their money on.
Like many who claim an alternative cure for cancer, Beauvais has never tried to prove scientifically that ozone works.
I'm not interested in that, okay? It's scientific studies and all that. all I go by is when people come here. That's why we don't do any testing. All I go by is, how do you feel?
Beauvais is not even a doctor. He's an engineer, and he's offshore for a good reason. This is a photo from his police file. He fled a $500,000 bond in Florida in 1990. The charge was practicing medicine without a license. Beauvais' patients don't know or don't care. They usually pay $3,000 a week to be put on a strict fruitarian diet, nothing but fruits, seeds, and water for the rest of their lives. If they alter that diet, he says, their illnesses may recur. None of Beauvais' theories are accepted by mainstream doctors, and they're particularly skeptical about his claims of a 90% success rate.
And by the way, we do guarantee that. We guarantee after the 4-week period, you will have no more live cancer cells in your body.
Oh, thank you.
Problem is, there's no way to check. Beauvais couldn't show us any proof of cancer or HIV cures, even of curing baldness. He did give us a list of 24 former clients to call. 6 of them weren't working numbers. 3 patients were dead of cancer. One other says he doesn't believe he's been cured. The rest said they had enjoyed Beauvais' program, but none could show that their medical condition had changed in any way, especially since he advises them to stay away from all doctors when they return to the States. But testimonials from happy patients are so powerful that offshore clinics like Beauvais have no trouble getting new clients like Carol, who hope for a cure.
I realize I'm letting myself be a guinea pig, so to speak. But if it works, then I'm all the better for it. Time will tell.
Sadly, we discovered that the woman whose testimonial inspired Carol to seek out ozone treatments, Kathy Smith, died 4 months ago of cancer. Carol Johnson, the woman who went to the Dominican Republic, may have stumbled upon alternative medicine's best hope for healing, and it's not ozone. It's faith. And while it may not be enough to cure cancer, a new book by Dr. Herbert Benson claims faith could be one of medicine's most powerful weapons. Western science separates mind and body. Dr. Benson, a Harvard researcher, was the first to explore the traditions of the East, where mind and body are considered as one. Almost 20 years ago, he went to the Himalayas to pioneer the study of psychoimmunology, mind-body medicine. With this rare film, he became the first outsider to record the extraordinary feats of Buddhist monks.
They could, in a 40-degree Fahrenheit room, wrap themselves in icy sheets. They're essentially naked. You and I would go into uncontrollable shivering and perhaps die from hypothermia. Within 3 minutes, the sheets were steaming, and within 30 minutes they were dry.
Somehow they raised their body temperature with their minds.
We also saw them spend a night out on a precipice at 19,000 feet, 0 degrees, with nothing but a thin cotton shawl, with them hunkered down, walking through these snows in sandals, without socks or anything else, generated from this heat yoga, mind-body reaction, which came about by their advanced meditative processes.
With oxygen meters and electrodes, he proved that our thoughts could control our health. He calls it the relaxation response. This mind-body interaction could be the key to unlock the secrets of alternative medicine. And you don't have to be a yogi to do it.
And this is going to measure your hand temperatures.
Dr. Benson used me to demonstrate, wiring me with finger probes and an electrode cap connected to a computer. For 5 minutes, Benson asked me to repeat a single word in my head. I chose Om.
You're going to find all sorts of other thoughts coming to mind. Simply say to yourself, oh well, and passively come back to Om.
Although I had never tried it before, my body relaxed completely. In just 5 minutes, my hand temperature, a sign of higher blood flow, went up 7 degrees. My muscle tension declined, my blood vessels dilated, and my heart rate dropped 4 beats per minute. In a new book, Dr. Benson says that this concentration plus simple belief can heal.
In your book, you say that belief is good for us. What do you mean by that?
Well, look at one study that was done in heart patients. This was done at Dartmouth by Dr. Oxman, where he found that people undergoing heart surgery had, and those who believed in a religion, had 1/3 the mortality of those who weren't religious. This is quite tangible proof of the power of belief, and that belief is indeed good for you.
The power of the mind over the body. Benson says this is what alternative medicine can offer, the amazing physical strength of the placebo effect.
The placebo effect is extraordinarily powerful. For example, in many, many disorders, it is 70 to 90% effective.
He cites an astonishing example. In 2 studies in the 50s, there was a new surgery for heart pain. Half the patients had the actual surgery. The other half had mock surgery. The surgeon opened up their chest but didn't do anything inside. Both groups reported that after the surgery, their pain went away, even though the surgical treatment was later proven to be worthless.
When people believed in them, and the doctors believed in them, they were 70 to 90% effective.
Dr. Benson's claim, the placebo effect isn't psychological, it's biological.
We have within our brains some 100 billion cells, and there are literally trillions of connections, and our memories are stored there. It's kind of a neurosignature of what our life is. And we can remember what it is to be without a headache.
Belief alone, he says, can switch on that neurological pattern for wellness.
If you're told something will cure that headache and you believe it, it will relieve that headache because you remember the pattern. You remember what it was to be well. It's remembered wellness.
He cautions that faith alone can't stop cancer or set a broken bone. But doctors are beginning to use brain mapping techniques to pin down the connection between biology and belief. Though some types of alternative medicine may turn out to have real physical effects, he thinks most of it is the surprising physical power of faith.
People know what they believe in. And if you believe in high-tech medicine, go for it. But a good part of why high-tech medicine is working is because not so much of the high-tech, but because of your belief system. Similarly with alternative medicine, if you believe in herbs, fine, provided you don't stop penicillin, you don't prevent penicillin.